Khalistan Zindabad! Khalistan Zindabad! Khalistan Zindabad! Who's the terrorist? Indian government! Who's the terrorist? Indian government!
Remember last week where we discussed a story where Anita Anand was talking about the trade relationship between Canada and India and said, we're going after the Bishnoi gang, which we ended up finding out was essentially being used as a proxy by the Indian government to go after the Khalistani group here in Canada. And Anita Anand kind of like shied her eyes away from Khalistan and focused mainly on the Bishnoi gang. Instead of acknowledging both groups and kicking them both out of Canada, she decided to pick one side because, well, one is politically convenient over the other. Then we saw those protests take place where they're holding up posters targeting her and had her face on these posters wanting her gone. Remember that? Well, it's only getting worse. As we just found out, these exact same protesters have now descended upon a politically affluent neighborhood in Ottawa, targeting political officials. And boy, whew, it's the same neighborhood that Mark Carney lives in, and boy, it's getting wild. Welcome to the Elevate Podcast. I'm your host, Josh. If you get any value from today's episode, take the time to like, share, and subscribe. It helps us to grow. It helps us get to new audiences and helps people see that there is something different than what the mainstream media has to offer. And now let's get into our first story, shall we? The Khalistan protesters descend upon Ottawa, descend upon a very affluent political neighborhood in the area. Same area that Mark Carney has a house in, same area that Justin Trudeau has a house in. They weren't necessarily targeting their houses. However, their goal was to make their presence very known to our political officials, specifically to one political official, but as well adjacent to them, just letting them know, hey, we know where you all live. We will be back if we have to. We saw these guys get their stupid caravans, their stupid flags, flying around, driving around this Ottawa neighborhood to make a very serious point. Listen to them here.
ਜਿਹੜਾ ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇਵਾਰ ਹੈ ਜਥੇਦਾਰ ਹਰਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ ਨਿੱਜਰ ਤੇ ਕੈਨੇਡੀਅਨਸ ਦੀ ਟ੍ਰਾਂਸਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਰਿਪਰੈਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਆਟਵਾ ਤੋਂ ਸੰਗਤਾਂ ਦਿੰਦੀਆਂ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਸੁਨੇਹਾ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਸੀ ਕੋਈ ਖਾਲਿਸਤਾਨੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਲਓ ਜੀ ਭਰ ਗਿਆ ਜੋਟਵਾ ਖਾਲਿਸਤਾਨੀ ਗੱਡੀਆਂ ਝੰਡਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਆਟਵਾ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਬਣਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਖਾਲਿਸਤਾਨ ਦੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਅੱਜ ਆਟਵਾ ਦੇ
So he's kind of going on talking about all the people that have been killed, their Khalistani brethren, essentially. We need support. We need justice for these guys. We need to be safe from transnational repression, all this, yada, 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 yada. As I've said, these political officials in Ottawa have decided to ignore and completely turn a blind eye to these Khalistani wieners. And now they're showing up in their neighborhood, which there's a part of me that's like, you know what? Okay. You know what? Finally, they're showing up on somebody's doorstep to really help them pay attention to what is going on. The only thing is, they're not protesting Mark Carney. They didn't go protesting Justin Trudeau. No, they showed up in front of the Indian High Commissioner's house with this. Indian High Commissioner's house. Again, a huge political representative between India and Canada. As you know, we've been having a lot of conversations with India because of these issues we're having in the United States and uncertainty around trade. Well, you know, we'd like to get some deals done, and India's been very open to talking with us. However, there's been this tension of these Khalistani movement who are very violent, who Canada protects. And Canada has, you know, for whatever reason, none of our political parties decide to acknowledge them. Our governing party isn't doing it. Our Conservative Party isn't doing it. NDP, well, had a leader who had links to them. Jagmeet Singh was linked to this Khalistani movement. They are they got something that got a hold of our political elite here in our country that they won't even so much as touch them. Why? I wonder. These guys show up in front of the High Commissioner's House of India. This is a significant issue because, well, this affects our trade relationships. This impacts our potential income and prosperity to this country. If we can't get a deal done with one of the main economies, one of the largest economies in the world, because of us deciding not to deal with this stuff, these guys showed up at the High Commissioner's house. This would be the equivalent of a terrorist organization showing up at the U.S. ambassador's house, threatening him while we're in the midst of these trade negotiations with Trump. That would be the equivalent of what we're seeing here. They showed up at this guy's house saying, huh? And I'm not saying he lives there. This is more so a residence of someone who has this role in Ottawa. So it's not like it's his house. He essentially stays there when he's visiting Canada. So it's not like he's there. However, this is a symbolic gesture to let them know, hey, we know where you're at. We don't like you. And look, again, you have it here. You have them cutting out an illustration of two Khalistan soldiers assassinating Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, showing bullet holes in her chest, blood flying out, next to Prime Minister Modi in a cage, along with the High Commissioner in a cage next to them. Look at these guys. Like, holy jumping, this is nuts.
We're standing in front. High Commissioner Dishnesh Patnaik's home. This is what we're saying. You are the culprit. You are the reason for transnational repression, and you are terrorizing Canadian Sikhs globally. This is how we feel about India.
Get your words out.
That's it. Khalistan
Zindabad!
Khalistan
Zindabad! Khalistan!
Who's the terrorist?
Indian government!
Who's the terrorist?
Indian government!
Who's the terrorist?
Indian government!
Who killed Nijjar?
Indian government! Kill Modi!
Politics.
Kill Modi!
Politics.
Kill Modi!
Politics.
Kill Modi!
Politics.
Kill Dishnesh Patnaik!
Politics.
Kill Dinesh Patnaik!
Politics.
Kill Dinesh Patnaik!
Delhi banega! Delhi banega!
Delhi banega! Delhi banega! Delhi banega!
Well, that kind of sums up for you in that image, doesn't it? They're out there in front of the High Commissioner's home here in Ottawa, wishing for the death of the High Commissioner, wishing for the death of Modi, wishing to the death of India, saying, long live Khalistan, ripping up an Indian flag. And our government officials, no matter what political stripe you wear, will not say a dang thing about it. Why? It's because they're captured. They are captured. When it comes to this specific group, they are captured. Can't tell you why. Can't explain it why. Don't know the details. Don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But for whatever reason, they are terrified to ever speak about this group and what they're doing. They'll talk about the Palestinian supporters. They'll talk about the IRGC. They'll talk about the Muslim Brotherhood. They'll talk about the United Front. They'll talk about the Mexican cartels. They'll even talk about the Bishnoi gang. But they'll never talk about Khalistan. I'm like, oh, you're so close. Why can't you go the full way and call out both groups? We want to know. Why? Speaking as a Canadian who cares about Canadian interests, why? Why do we allow one set of terrorism in this country, but not the other? We just want to know. We want to know. Look how violent they are starting to get even more. This isn't just happening in Alberta. It's not just happening in BC now. They've traveled to Ottawa to make their points known in your neighborhoods over there to our political elite. Are you getting the point yet? And especially since this is now infringing on national security issues here, when these guys are now putting our trade negotiations at stake, are we going to hear anything from the official opposition talking about this in the House of Commons to challenge the Liberals to denounce this so that we can get to the table and get a deal done with India? Are we going to talk about that? I'd love to see it. Love to see it happen. And the Liberals are just acting like, of course, that this doesn't exist. Even the High Commissioner went on CTV's show last month to warn you about this very crap. And this is what he had to say. If you remember this, you got to remember this.
You cannot look at this situation as an Indian problem. It's a Canadian problem. There are Canadians who are creating this problem. So do you look at it? Do you look at what is happening within Canada? Today, one of the restaurants which was attacked for the third time in Vancouver, shots were fired at the restaurant, which is owned by an Indian. South Asians and Indians are feeling unsafe here. Do we need to target that? Do we need to make sure that they feel safe? What is happening here? The High Commissioner of Canada and India doesn't need protection, but the High Commissioner of India and Canada needs protection. Do we need to look into that? Why is it a situation like that? So those are things. The larger discussions have to happen because any relationship takes into account every aspect of the relationship.
So again, this is the guy they want dead. This is the guy they're chanting about. This is the guy whose house they're out in front of, wishing death upon him as well as PM Modi and death to India. And he brought it up here. Why do I need security when I come to Canada? You're not taking our security seriously. The security of people who have immigrated here, who are trying to get away from these crazy terrorists. You're not taking them seriously. Why do you not take it seriously? He even called it out on CTV without saying, he didn't even utter the word Khalistan because he knew it would be hyperactive. But that's what he was alluding to. Why? They're the only ones who are violent towards him. The fact he needed to come on to our airwaves to mention this, that's that story, right? And you have the Sikhs for Justice, who again, this is where it comes down to, right? Is these Khalistanis, this is what they do. They hide behind a religion, they hide behind Sikhism as a way to protect themselves from any type of ridicule or criticism. Anybody criticizes them, they'll, specifically someone like me, they'll call me racist. White guy talking about Sikhism, he hates Sikhs. What they do is they've actually corrupted the Sikh religion, hid behind it, gotten their gurdwaras, let the people know, hey, it's really a Khalistan here, but we use Sikhism as the front to kind of do what we got to do. That's kind of how they operate. Very similar to, I don't know, how the KKK operated with the terms of Christianity. Very similar issues going on here, but for whatever reason, our government just can't be found to discuss it, to have anything to say about it. And so, as I said, these Khalistanis are using Sikhism to be able to push this ideology and say, look what they're doing to us. And that's exactly what they did on their friggin' social media accounts. Sikhs for Justice, again, showed up in front of the Indian embassy to intimidate and had the audacity to say this: contact the RCMP if you recognize or can identify this Indian consulate spy network. Indian agent using Brampton, Triveni, Mandir, recording pro-Khalistan Canadian Sikhs who are rallying against the Indian consulate officials. Life certificate operation. Sorry, I messed that one up. They did not show up in front of the consulate. They claimed this guy was a consulate operative, essentially. But they said they identified this man in front of the Triveni Mandir. Triveni Mandir. And you'll see the video and see where they're at. They're essentially hosting this rally in front of that location, claiming this guy filming them was a consulate op. And if you look up Triveni Mandir, we'll take a look at what it says. Oh, a Hindu temple. Something these Khalistanis do consistently is intimidate the Hindu community consistently. Remember, I think over a year ago at this point, remember the whole October thing that happened in Brampton, the big fight that took place? It's because of crap like this, man. It's because of crap like this. But they claim this guy was in front of the steps recording them. And they had the audacity to be like, oh, we got RCMP, track this guy down. He's a spy. Dude, that brother is sorry. I don't think he's a spy. Even the most out of shape spy I've ever seen. No offense to him, but come on, man. What are we doing here? They're literally standing on public property. You're allowed to be videotaped on public property. Sorry. Welcome to Canada. That's allowed to happen here. I know it's shocking, but yeah, we're allowed to do that here. But here they are chanting for this. And here's the thing, right? Trudeau protected these guys because look at what he did and how him with, again, this is where I truly believe Jagmeet Singh was the neck with Justin Trudeau as the head, making sure that Khalistan was protected against India. Because here they are again at this rally. Our Prime Minister's Mark Carney, remember? Listen to the audio of this clip and look who they have playing on their big loudspeakers.
Any involvement of a foreign government in the killing of a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil is an unacceptable violation of our sovereignty. It is.
They're playing Justin Trudeau's words, who is alluding to essentially this whole situation that's been essentially after the Niger incident, about how we will not accept foreign countries conducting business on our soil. And they use that as protection now, and that's what they did here. But Justin Trudeau, the gift that keeps on giving, right? Well, don't worry. Mark Carney is passing the torch. Where this is the Sikhs for Justice video here that they posted, that they are now doing another referendum here, trying to get Punjab to separate from India, and they're doing a referendum here in Canada. Interesting. Here's their message to Mark Carney.
First of all, I want to thank PM Carney and Canadian government for granting permission to host Khalistan referendum at National Historic Site Billings Estate in Ottawa. This shows Canada's commitment to free speech, political expression, and democratic process, and this is a charter right.
They love talking about our free speech. They love hiding behind our laws when it serves them, don't it? But minute you come against them, they'll use violence to shut you the heck up. These people cannot be trusted, and you cannot tolerate it. This is insane, absolute insanity. And the fact that, again, they're literally in your neighborhoods, Ottawa. They're literally like all around all our politicians. They're there. Are we going to speak up? Are we going to talk about it? Are we going to kick out all terrorism out of our country? Or are we just going to talk about the ones that are politically fun? They are holding another referendum at a government building, historic site in Ottawa. They're holding this referendum at. They're thanking Mark Carney and the government of Canada for allowing them to do it. It's insane. And this is what I found interesting, because even CBC ran a story. Again, they only cover the one side of this, man. CBC ran a story about extortion of businesses out in BC, right? That whole story broke over the weekend. A lot of it tied to the Bishnoi gang is kind of what they're talking about. And the first person they show in this town hall who's voicing his concerns, wearing a long live Republic of Khalistan sweater in the first 5 seconds of the stupid video, dude. Look at this guy.
My kids are scared, my family's scared, the whole neighborhood's scared.
Look at that. That gold right there, Khalistan there on the right side, there, his left breast. This is what he's wearing. He's mentioning how he's scared. We're scared of what these guys are doing. Are you kidding me?
I'm just asking elected officials and even the police officers, what are we waiting for?
What are we waiting for? I am wondering the same thing, man. What are we waiting for by cracking down on this crazy terrorist entity who took credit for the Air India bombing, who took credit for the bombing in Japan, who took credit for multiple terrorist activities throughout the world for the sake of their ideology. And we just allow them to operate here. And they've gone as far as being and having a direct impact on our government, the governing side and the opposition side. They completely torpedoed our third party, the NDP. Their leader had a connection to this group. Now that party's got 7 seats in the whole house. And, you know, I'm a little fired up. And Josh, they wonder, why are you so fired up about this specific issue? Well, first off, I love my country. I don't want terrorism in our country. I want people to be able to come here from wherever they've come from, to be free to live their lives, do what they got to do in a country that has values, strength, and integrity around what we believe, what our laws are, our freedom of speech, this, that, the other. Our culture of taking care of your friends in need, our culture of taking care of your neighbors, our culture of looking after one another needs to stay the majority culture. Right now, we're being corrupted by a variety of different cultures because we're just the types that want to be, inclusive. And you can be inclusive by not completely giving up your culture. And that's what we're currently doing. We're allowing everyone to run roughshod over us. That's why everyone's so frustrated right now. And the reason why I harp so hard on the Khalistan issue is because, one thing is no one talks about these guys. No one knows about these guys. I've done like 5 videos on this group since last year. Every time I post one of these videos up, I get a flood of comments every time. Oh, that's the first time I'm hearing about this. But again, it gets to the closer point. Josh, why do you care so much about these guys? Well, believe it or not, this was the first group I've ever experienced and came into contact with doing this type of work, doing a YouTube show about Canadian politics. As you know, every Tuesday night, Reg joins me here on a live stream and we do our thing. But that wasn't always the case. We used to do everything together on this show. We used to. The last time these guys had a referendum on separating Punjab from India, we covered it. We didn't know what it was. We were just 2 Canadians who had no idea who these guys were, just saw them waving these yellow flags in front of Calgary City Hall, yelling death to India. We're just like, that's not a Canadian value. We don't want anyone wishing death to anybody in this country. What the heck is that about? Took that, clipped that, posted that. Went super viral across social media. They went after my friend Reg and tried to take his job away from him to the point where Reg couldn't be on the show as often anymore. So that's why it's a little personal for me, because you came after someone I love. You came after one of my friends. And now you forced me to dig really deep into you over the last year. And now I know what you're about. And I do not care who I offend, whether it be on the liberal side, or the Conservative side or the NDP side. I'm calling out all of our political elite and our political class right now. This needs to be dealt with. These guys are serious. And yes, sure, it's a little personal for me because they came after one of my friends. But it's getting worse. They're now, as I said, they're filming themselves shooting up cafes. They're filming themselves shooting up people's houses. They're filming themselves out in front of the High Commissioner's house, wishing death upon him with Indira Gandhi's cutout with bullet holes in her chest. Tearing up an Indian flag while in the midst of trade negotiations with them. And you're just going to act like they don't exist. But we're going to look at the Bishnoi gang. All political parties are called out the Bishnoi gang, which is a good first step. But who are they going after? Why are they going after them? How about we get rid of all of them and restore true law and order back to our streets and restore this country back to Canadians? But anyways, big vote coming at you 4 p.m. Eastern time. Looking forward to it. Have yourselves a good one. I'm out.